That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure that, like you're talking, that relatability is huge. I mean, I taught for 2 years in high school, and I mean, I know students and like even just kids in general, they want to relate. Like they don't want somebody that's I don't know, like a fake person. They want somebody that they can relate to at like whatever stage of life they're in. And I mean, if they've got a trouble pass, they can see, wait, hold on, like this person had a trouble pass just like me, and they really turned it around. Like maybe I should do what they do. And I think that's huge, and I'm sure that's been very beneficial and very impactful for those students that you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably the most impactful way is just a very um, quick heart feel, if you will, where they get to
Yeah.
say, "Oh, okay." And I think there is some of those challenges when you are in more of that professional teacher environment where you either don't get an opportunity to necessarily build those relationships or just the nature of the environment kind of puts some of those barriers up there for the individual. So for right, wrong, or indifferent, I think some of those stigmas form in the minds of the youth where they're like, oh, well, this is teacher and they're above me. And so it's hard for them to relate at some level. And then at the same time, you're kind of in this position of authority as a teacher. And so you
Mm.
have to maintain some of that. Specifically, I see when you're in these facilities, in these institutions, because the structure is important to maintain the homeostasis of everything. So I luckily get the opportunity to kind of do this in that non-traditional setting and say, kind of say, oh, I'm a teacher, but not a teacher. And it's really nice. I do envy those that have the professional experience like yourself that have worked in the school because you guys have built some discipline stuff that I'm now having to learn how to do. Lesson
Mm.
planning, curriculum planning, and stuff like that. I'm like, oh dear goodness, I need to speak out with my teachers and ask them how they do all of this stuff. The biggest challenge I found is that in that lack of experience is really um, aligning what my expectations are for how I was as a learner at different learning stages with where they're at. And I've now realized, or starting to understand more and more, where they're at and where I'm at and say, oh, hey, I'm not teaching to a college class here, Sean. So let's teach to a different class. And that was honestly my first challenge was forgetting that I'm not a college professor, for lack of better words, just leaning on previous experiences. So
Yeah, I love the just the struggle and the mental gymnastics that teachers have to do. I mean, there's just so much going on there. Like, well, I mean, first off, like I love the mental chess game of you're trying to figure out what should I do to best impact this student and how
uh,
are they going to react? And you're trying to judge that, you're trying to figure that out. And the student sometimes can figure it out and sometimes they'll play hardball, but then I mean, when you get through to them, when you connect with them, when you have that relatability, it's huge. And I mean, and you talked about discipline. Like, I only taught for 2 years. The reason I stopped teaching is because of discipline. Like, they don't teach you how to discipline students, how to manage a classroom in college. It's just like, oh, here's how you lesson plan. But
yeah,
90% of
okay.
teaching is discipline and classroom management. And I mean, like those are the hard things to master. But I mean, once you master them, once you figure them out, like you're golden, and you can manage pretty much any classroom: elementary school, middle school, high school, college. I mean, maybe elementary school. I don't know if you could go from managing a high school to an elementary school student because those are like just two totally different, I don't know, animals. But yeah, that's wild. But I mean, it's a good struggle. It's a good struggle for sure.
Yeah, it is. I One of my good friends is teaches middle school at a military academy down in New
Mm.
Orleans. And so she works with similar population and then has some of those unique challenges. Um, but she had to teach some young kids once, and that was one of her first real things was like, they are wild. I cannot control them. I'm like, I don't think you're gonna.
Yeah. I mean, they're like the Energizer Bunny. They're bouncing off the walls. They come in from lunch. They're just like crazy. I mean, it's fun, but it takes a certain type of person to do that.
Yeah, I visited a school here, and they were doing indoor recess when I stopped by, and I stepped into the kindergarten area, and it was just so awesome to just see how the teachers were just letting them be kids inside
Hmm.
just being wild and crazy, and I'm just like, man, I miss those days.
I
I
miss when I
wish,
can do whatever.
yeah, where we could just throw around and throw ketchup on the wall, and mom's like, okay, don't worry about it. But now I
You're
gotta go
fine.
clean up the ketchup.
Yeah, exactly. Back then, you're like, yeah, it's just ketchup, it's fine. But now you're like, well, I'm the adult. Yeah, when I was teaching, I would always think of this quote. And I saw it like a meme years ago, and it was like, when you're in public or when you're in school and kids are acting up, and you start thinking like, where's an adult? And you're like, oh wait, I'm the adult. And so you start looking for an older adult, an adultier adult. I'm like, that was me. I mean, I was like, okay, like where are the adults at? That's
Yeah,
funny. But
it's
I
funny.
mean,
It has
oh
it
yeah.
has changed the views.